Sometimes I hate being right all the time. I've been throwing up red flags, warning you all season long that this team's record was fool's gold because the flawed fundamentals and total lack of consistency were going to destroy them. What have I been saying on this show? Week after week after week. The offensive play calling is dumb as hell. Bobby Slowick is ass. How many halfback dives for a 2-yard gain do you really need to see? Huh? He called 25 run plays that accounted for less than 50 yards total. He called a run play on 2nd and 30. Brutal. Disgustingly brutal. And, as has been the case all season long, second half adjustments have been atrocious on both sides of the ball. Both sides of the ball. Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am Ross Bolen, and with a truly pathetic 26-23 loss to the Detroit Lions, your Houston Texans fall to 6-4 on the season. We cursed the candy paint jerseys on their first wear. Sad. Very unfair. The Houston Texans just became the first team to lose a game while forcing 5 interceptions in over 50 years. Since some point in the 1970s or some shit. We set a new franchise record for most interceptions in a game, and we fucking lost. How, Sway? How? God almighty, this was the 5th time in the last 6 games that the Texans have failed to score a touchdown in the second half of play. I repeat, the Texans have not scored a touchdown in the second half since week freaking 6. Here's a breakdown of the second half touchdowns for every game this season. How many second half touchdowns we had in each game. Colts, opening day, 2 touchdowns in the second half. Bears, week 2, 0 in the second half. Week 3 against the Vikings, we got 1. Week 4 against the Jags, we got 1. Against the Bills, 0. Patriots, we got 3. Wasn't that a fun game? Everybody remembers the Pats game. Against the Packers, 0. Colts, 0. Jets, 0. Lions, 0. I think we might have an issue with halftime adjustments. Would you say that's fair? A fair evaluation at this point? And that's what's so frustrating about this Texans team. Among the, insane list of frustrations, somewhere near the top is that these things they are struggling with week after week after week after week, they're mostly the same shit. There were some changes in the game against the Lions, which we'll get to in a second, but for the most part, it's the same glaring issues that any fucking random dickhead podcaster who's watching every snap can sit there and point to, like, I feel like we're getting really outcoached. Like, every time we come out of the half, we look like dog shit. They've made great adjustments, and we have not, and we're getting outplayed in the second half every single game, but it's just the same, like, logic or, I don't know, optimism tells you that maybe things will be better next time because it's so clear and obvious where the issues lie. But then they don't change. It's just the same thing. I didn't even do a show after the Jets game because I'm sick of coming in here and just saying the same thing every week. It's just the same shit. Sports radio people in Houston must be losing their fucking minds because they got no new talking points, really. It's just the same shit we've seen all year long. Nothing has really changed. Fundamentally, it's the same team as it was week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the same fucking problems, the same nonsense, the same flaws, and nobody's doing anything to change it. Why? God left this place a long time ago. So we know the second half sucked 1,000 dicks. Just right in a row. It did. Let's focus on the first half, shall we? CJ Stroud looked alive again in the first half. Hell, we looked like a totally different team in the first half against the Lions compared to the game against the Jets on Thursday Night Football. I thought, like an idiot, that this team had finally woken up, that they'd finally turned the corner. Changes to the offensive line created an actual pocket for C.J. Stroud. They made changes to the offensive line. They finally did something. That was one of the changes I referenced just minutes ago. And it was fantastic for 2 quarters. He had a pocket. There was a pocket. He could stand in the pocket and read the fucking field and throw the ball to receivers. It was magical. The Lions had not yet completely shut down the run game. Mechie was getting more involved in the receiving game. Looked like he might be stepping up to be like a clear-cut number 2 guy behind Tank Dell, which we needed somebody to do. The defense was flying all over the place, picking balls off left and right. All was well in the first half. All was well. I got on the phone with my dad in the second quarter. We talked for like a half hour while we watched the game because we were really able to enjoy it together, you know? And we were just basking in the glory of what would surely be primetime victory. But alas, when the clock hit 0 in the second quarter, and it was halftime, before we got off the phone, we both mentioned how now the real game begins, and the second half has been where this team has shit the bed consistently all season long. So everybody watching this game knew that those first 2 quarters did not mean anything. Everybody watching knew. Everybody watching who watches the Texans every week knew. So if we know on our couches, how the hell do they not know that on the field, in the locker room? How? It's mind-boggling. It's insanity. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing week after week and expecting different results. They keep getting the same results. At least there's consistency there. They suck in the second half. Whatever the line is, here's a free fucking money grab. Whatever the line is in the next Texans game at halftime, the second half line, take the other team. They're going to cover it. Because we don't score in the second half of football games, which is a problem because the second half is half of the whole. That's half the game. The most important half, the half that involves winning and losing in the end. Nobody gives a shit what the score is at halftime. It's the score at the end of the game. Oh, Christ. Look good, feel good, play good. Everybody knows that's how it works. But finding high-quality basics for your wardrobe online that actually fit well, not too tight, not too baggy, can be a huge pain in the ass. That's where today's sponsor, True Classic, comes in and saves the day, unlike Kaimi Fairbairn last night. I'm a pretty simple dude when it comes to clothes. I don't need much. But shopping for clothes can be so defeating when the shit you buy ends up being ridiculously expensive, and then when it finally arrives, it looks like crap on you. True Classic delivers the opposite of that experience. Their shirts are high quality and unbelievably comfortable, like this long sleeve Henley that I've got on right now. It's beautiful. It's so comfortable that it's the only thing keeping me from snapping my laptop in half out of anger on today's show. I'm huge on t-shirts. They comprise like 90% of my wardrobe. Nobody has better looking or more comfortable t-shirts than True Classic. The Henleys are great. Crew necks are perfect. They've got V-necks, long sleeves, long sleeve Henleys, sweaters, hoodies, literally everything you could possibly need with premium quality and a premium fit. I got my latest order of True Classic in the mail last week, wore it around the house all weekend, and even my wife was like, "Is that new? It looks great on you." Underwear, jackets, socks, jeans, polos, joggers. True Classic is your one-stop shop for everything you need. And nothing helps you move on from another soul-shattering, devastating Houston Texans loss like a little retail therapy. So get in there and grab yourself some True Classic today. The holidays are here, and True Classic's ultra-comfortable, perfect-fitting essentials make the perfect gift for you and the other men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. Just go to our exclusive link just for can bangers at trueclassic.com/BTC to save. That's trueclassic.com/BTC. They've got crazy deals going on right now, so go check them out. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Enjoy the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic. Link in the description of this episode. Hit it. Do it. For as good as he looked in the first half, that's how bad CJ Stroud looked in the second half. And overall, he just straight up wasn't good enough yesterday. I mean, a lot of you will point to the touch pass he threw Tank Dell that should have been a bullet for a touchdown. And sure, that was huge. That was a game-changing throw gone wrong. But CJ, if we're being honest, has not been himself for much of the 9 games we have seen this year. 10 games now, I guess. He really hasn't been himself. He hasn't looked like he did last year, like he could at any moment provide a spark to the offense or make an insane throw that you can't even believe. That hasn't been there. It hasn't been there. Via Adam Wexler, since week 6, CJ Stroud is 30th in passer rating at 72.7, just behind Mason Rudolph and Daniel Jones. He's completing only 53.7% of his passes. No QB has been sacked more in that time than Stroud. He's been sacked 18 times since week 6. That's not good. That's not good. So the one area that we thought, well, if everything else goes wrong, at least we've got CJ Stroud. At least we can rely on CJ. That is no longer the case. It looks like the love of the game has been slowly sucked from his body. Sunday by Sunday by Sunday by Thursday by Sunday by Sunday. It's just, he looks so defeated. And the offensive line has undoubtedly contributed to his failings. Like at one point last night, he was strip sacked by Titus Howard. If you don't know who Titus Howard is, he's a tackle on the Texans. He's one of his offensive linemen who's meant to protect him from such an event. And inexplicably, he strip sacked his own fucking quarterback, which is problematic. It's not great. So yeah, there are circumstances with the O-line and the play calling that aren't helping CJ perform at a high level, but frankly, it's time to admit he isn't helping himself either. With some of his decision-making, some of these throws, he just looks bewildered out there and, like I said, beaten down. Right? CJ was 19 for 33 last night. 57.6 completion percentage and 232 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, sacked 4 times. How many games this season has he thrown 1 touchdown or less? It's a bunch. The bulk majority, I have to say at this point. 64.2 QB rating last night. If you told me those stats before the game, I'd say we lost by 14 plus easily. Nope. 3-point game. Fucking insane. As far as the running game goes, while the new-look offensive line was able to protect CJ Stroud and create an actual pocket, they were completely incapable of run blocking, so we basically flip-flopped strengths and weaknesses. So as happy as we all were in the first half, thinking like, oh, wow, look at this. Yeah, they made some changes finally to the offensive line. The blocking looks better. There's a pocket. In the second half, it became much more obvious that the trade-off was that now there's no run game. So maybe this is why they hadn't flipped things up. Maybe this is why they hadn't switched things up. Maybe this is why the offensive line kept getting trotted out there game after game after game, and Kenyon Green was somehow allowed to still wear a Texans jersey game after game after game before finally getting hurt. Maybe this is why. I don't know. Maybe this is why. Maybe they tried it in practice and they were like, oh shit, now we can't even run the ball. But we flip-flopped. We just flip-flopped strengths and weaknesses. Now the passing game was okay, at least in the first half, and then there's no running game. Lions completely stifled Joe Mixon. 25 rushes for, drumroll please, 46 yards. 46 yards on 25 attempts. 1.8 yards per carry. Woof. His longest run of the game was for 8 fucking yards. 8. What? What happened? What the fuck, man? And yet Bobby Slowick kept spamming halfback dive like he always does. This fucking guy. Not enough camera shots of Bobby Slowick, by the way. Give me more of his sad face on the sideline. At least let me look at the man who is causing me to hate my life. At least let me see his face. They're not showing him enough. I don't know why. Still treat him like some kind of golden boy. Fuck that. Camera on Bobby Slowick, please. Because frankly, if things continue at this rate, it's probably the last time we're going to see this guy. We intercepted Jared Goff 5 times, and we lost. I can't believe I'm saying that. But every week, it's like, I can't believe I'm saying that. This is why I didn't do the Jets game last week. The Jets. We lost to the Jets last week. Had extra rest, extra time to prepare for what is, without a doubt, one of the 2 or 3 biggest games of the year for us against the Detroit Lions at home with the candy red uniforms, fucking battle red, whatever they're calling them. And they still come out and shit the bed? It's tough to process. We're back. We're sliding back into that fucking Texans hole where we've all been for the entire existence of the franchise, where it's like when good stuff happens, yay, but we expect bad. We expect bad stuff to happen as Texans fans, historically. It's what we do because it's the only way to maintain sanity. If you come out expecting glory and victory every week, you're going to be sad. And I can't believe I let myself buy back in. Last week against the Jets should have been the end of optimism for this fan base. And I got to give you a lot of y'all credit. And a lot of the sports media people and radio guys in Houston too, who held on a lot longer than I did. Because somewhere around week 3 or 4, I was like, I don't know, guys. This feels deceptively shitty. Like, it looks good on paper, and we're getting wins, but we're not playing well. Like I said 2 weeks ago, the only game where it felt like we played a full 2 halves of football was against the Patriots. And that was nice, but that was it. Every other game out of the 10 we have played so far, there has either been one half that was great while the other half was absolutely terrible, or there weren't any halves that we looked put together. And we skated by and got away with some really close wins. But like, you play a good football team, and the fucking Lions looked like dog shit, and they were missing important pieces to their defense. And this was a real opportunity to come out and get a huge win and say enough is enough. We got to be sharp. All 4 quarters. And they didn't do it. They weren't even close to doing it. That's the sad. It's not like, okay, well, this is one obvious change we could make and then all this is fixed. No, we have gotten to the point where now let's run through the shit that we know is an issue. Obviously, not having Nico Collins out there again really, really hurts. Having your number 1 receiver and one of the top 5, easily 10 wide receivers in football out sucks. He's your biggest target. He's got the best hands. He runs the best routes. He's a monster out there. He looks like prime Andre Johnson when he's healthy. Not having him sucks. So the injuries are a problem. Yes, for sure. But as CJ Stroud looked good, you heard the stats I read. Nope. Is the offensive line fixed? We couldn't get a run game going to save our fucking dicks last night. Nope. The defense is creating turnovers. You think that's enough to win the game? Nope. Is the play calling any more consistent? Nope. There's issues all over the place. It's not one thing. It's not, if we could just protect CJ, we'd get these wins. No. Because then now you can't run. Now you can't run the fucking ball. And even if you could, the guy calling the plays tries to get too cute with it too often. The hell is he doing? I think we ran a double reverse yesterday that we were lucky to only lose 6 yards on because Tank Dell saved an additional, probably another 6 yards, which should have been 12-yard loss at a minimum. Dumbass play calling. The play is the offensive line, the penalties, that's the one big change I've seen since the first 4 weeks of the season or whatever. We were getting so many false starts, and they've clearly fixed that. Whatever issues they were having with timing or cadence or just discipline, The offensive line seems to have gotten better at that. But on the whole, the bigger picture shit is all the same. It's all the same. And it's crazy to get 5 picks, a franchise record for one game, and fucking lose. And lose the way they lost. What was it, 4th and 4, when we give Fairbairn the opportunity to kick that field goal that he misses when the game is tied? 58 yards, I think it was, the field goal. Go for it, man. What is this pussyfooting around? Clearly, they don't trust CJ in that situation. They don't trust the offense in that situation. And now that trickles down the next week. What does that do to their confidence? There's no balls. No balls with this team. The only pair of balls I see on that field through 10 weeks of NFL football for the Houston Texans in 2024 belonged to Joe Mixon. And even he couldn't do shit against the Lions because of the scheme. It's the offensive scheme is fucking trash. It's trash. We got screwed on a non-call in the final drive where pass interference clearly should have been called. Do you know how much I would have liked to have been able to come in here today and bitch about that play and that fucking non-call and the fact that they didn't throw a flag there and how that cost us the game, but anybody being real with themselves knows that wasn't it. There was 100 other moments we gave this game away that we refused to shut the door on a team we are up multiple scores on for the fucking umpteenth time this season. It's the same shit. So, that sucked. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What are they supposed to do? How do they reestablish trust with the fans at this point? I mean, I know they don't give a shit about that, but like, so to put it in another way, how do they reestablish trust with themselves, within the locker room, within the coaching staff? Is this the same? It's just, to quote Kade, why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in. That's how I feel about this team at this point. There's been nothing this season to make me believe that they are a competitive playoff team. We'll make the playoffs, sure. They'll probably get a couple more wins this season that'll make us all want to go back to the place we were before the season started, where we think maybe there's a chance they can make a playoff run and actually get to an AFC championship. But there will be 2 or 3 other games that remind us that that's not in the cards this year because they're not good enough. They're just not good enough. Any of you that watched the Chiefs game this weekend, who are now, what are they, 9-0? That's what a team that has dealt with injuries and issues all season long, what a great team does. They find a way to get it done anyway. It's like the 4th or 5th game this season the Chiefs have won that they should not have won because they made it happen. And we are like the opposite of the Chiefs in terms of confidence in our team and coaching and just really across the board. It's just, you got to make it happen. You got to get it done. You got to make the tough call. You got to let CJ put the ball in his hands and let him fucking throw it on 4th and 4. Do you want to win or do you want to lose to a last-second field goal? Go for the win, and then at least if you fail, you went for it. Now we didn't go for it, missed the field goal, they hit their field goal, and look where we are. Fairbairn was one of the only consistent fucking things about this team through the first 7 weeks, 8 weeks. And now even he is floundering because there's just no confidence. There's just no stability. There's no aura, if you want to call it that. They got no swagger. They're just a bunch of limp dick losers right now. And it sucks to watch because even if you get what we did last night, where during the first half you're like, yes, that was it. The same fucking thing happens where the second half makes you wish you'd never even turned it on. Should have been watching the Penguins season finale instead. Sacrificed a couple hours of sleep to have my heart ripped out of my chest and shoved up my ass. So where do they go from here? What are they supposed to do? Fire Bobby Slowick mid-season, hire another offensive coordinator? At this point, does that even sound that crazy? What is crazy is that he went from getting all those head coaching position interviews last offseason to this, where he's clearly not going to change. He would have done it already. This is who he is. This is his style of play calling, and it just doesn't fucking work with this team. It somehow worked enough last season in enough of those cutesy plays, trick play, weird shit he drew up. We got away with them. We've gotten away with maybe one this year. The other 9 times he's called weird double reverses or fucking, halfback passes or whatever. Like, we lose crazy yardage every time. So do you fire Bobby Slowick? You can't get rid of D'Amico Ryans yet, obviously. But even the fan base is starting to turn on D'Amico Ryans now. And the buck stops with him, with D'Amico, as much as we all love him. This is his team. That's his offensive coordinator. That's his offensive line. That's his quarterback, his running back. He's got to do something. Somebody's got to do something. So I don't know where they go from here. I don't know what happens next. I'm pulling up the schedule right now to take a look at the next few weeks, but losing to the Jets like that and then failing to close the door on the line. So we got the Cowboys in primetime on Monday Night Football next week. I cannot stress this enough. The Cowboys suck. If we lose that game, the season is over. It is over. There is no coming back from that. If we lose to the Cowboys in Dallas at 7:15 on Monday, November 18th, we're done. We're done. And there's going to be a lot of changes in this offseason, I can tell you that, if they don't turn this shit around quickly. You got Cowboys, you got Titans, you got Jags. That should be 3 wins. They win all of those. They go into the bye on a 3-game winning streak, week 14 bye. Then maybe there's some hope still that they can come out and be the team we thought they could be before the season started. But if not, if they don't sweep those 3 games, if they drop even one of those games to that sad collection of teams we are about to play, the Cowboys stink, baby. The Jags are ass. The Titans are trash. If we don't win all 3 of those games, the season is over. In terms of hopes for something more than a divisional round exit to a legitimate Super Bowl contender. That's it. That's where they go from here. And by the bye week, we should probably brace ourselves for the possibility of some changes. In terms of the coaching staff, I think. I think there is a next to 0% chance that they let D'Amico Ryans go, but you got to do something about the offense at this point. You got to do something about the offense. And we should have Nico Collins back against the Cowboys, which is the real reason I'm saying if you don't win all 3 of those games with your best offensive player back, then there's no more excuses. There's no more things to point to. And, we didn't have Nico. Well, no, he's back. So you got to get that done. And after those 3 games going into the bye week, then they've got Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens. That's why I'm saying if they don't win those 3 games against the Cowboys, against the Titans, and against the Jags, that the season is done. We're done. Because closing out with 3 very losable games of our last 4 before we close out the season against the Titans, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Every Sunday is tough in the NFL. Every week is a losable game, as we proved against the Jets. You can't drop these, and they just keep fumbling the bag, and it's fucking pathetic. Every AFC South team lost yesterday, by the way. So it was a chance for us to gain more ground in the hunt for the division championship, which I guess is back on the menu as our number 1 most desirable outcome for the season, because it's clearly not a Super Bowl at this point. Just so predictable how this is going to go. So predictable. Win the division because the division sucks. Win the wild card round because we're good enough for that. And then get stomped out against a real contender. And that's what'll happen. And that'll do it for today's show. Remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available on youtube.com/@bangingthecan for your viewing pleasure. If you are watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment about what you think went wrong against the Lions. And you can also listen on all the audio podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you are listening Please rate and review our show on the designated platform. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. Support our sponsors. Today we had a new sponsor, trueclassic.com/BTC. Get in there, upgrade your closet. Huge holiday sale, trueclassic.com/BTC. Hit the link in the description of this episode. Support our sponsors. It means a lot. Check out the rest of Bolen Media's shows. If you're an F1 fan, we've got Formula Bone, the finest American-made F1 content available today, brought to you by Formula Bone at youtube.com/@FormulaBone or on the podcast platforms Formula Bone. At Formula Bone on social media as well, hosted by Jared J-Bone Borislow. It gives you a recap and a preview of every race all season long. If you love F1, I promise you, you will love Formula Bone. Check it out. I do another show called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, where we just are wrapping up our coverage of The Penguin Season 1. We do a discussion, recap, and review of every episode of The Penguin. They're all available for you to listen to. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. It's hosted by me with one of my best friends of over 20 years, Barrett Dudley, who is another born and raised Houstonian. We are covering Dune Prophecy next on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, otherwise known as OCC, available wherever you get your can banging in. And the Ross Bolen podcast is another one from me, because I'm Ross Bolen, and yeah, it's my other show. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. Try to maintain sanity out there. Holler at me on social media. We got to stick together. We're all we got. I've got nothing left. They've taken me back to like 2020 vibes, 2021 Texans vibes. That's what I feel now. I'm having PTSD flashbacks to the worst of times. 6-4. They can still salvage the season. I'll end on a positive note. They could still salvage the season. Will they? I don't think so. I'll be back next week either way to talk about how things go with the Cowboys. So next week's episode will come out on Tuesday because obviously we play on Monday Night Football. Pray to all the gods that you believe in that these fuckers get in there during practice this week and make something happen. Something new, something different, something positive. And that they can pull it off for 4 straight quarters just one time. Because no matter what happens this season, kicking the Cowboys while they're down would make me feel a lot better. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.